Wait, what now? Oh,
Yeah.
crap. Oh, okay. Oh, I was tuning in to learn, man. Here we go. Welcome. Welcome. Hope you are well. Hope you are staying well. I hope it's just as sunny where you are as it is here, because a little bit of warm sunshine going a long way right now. Going a long way right now. Patrick and I had a coaching call this morning. I see him bopping down there, and got to listen to the roosters crowing, didn't you? Yep.
Only at 7 a.m. in Maine, you know?
Exactly. You too can have roosters crowing in your coaching calls, right? All right, so fierce conversations. While no single conversation is guaranteed to change the trajectory of a career, a company, a relationship, or a life, any single conversation can. And we are diving into a whole new section in this, and this is going to be the rest of our time together from now until the end of next week. And these are the 7 principles of fierce conversations. 7 principles of fierce conversations. I would hope that you've got maybe a notebook you're working, or maybe a file that you're working to take notes on these 7 principles as we go through them in the next few days. There we go, Patrick. Thank you. Joanne Rogers, so nice to see your face. Good morning. Principle number 1, master the courage to interrogate reality. Master the courage to interrogate reality. So, first off, one of the things I love that Susan lays out in the book is life is curly. Don't try to straighten it out. Life is curly. Don't try to straighten it out. Here's what that means to me. It means that there's some things in life, especially in terms of interrogating reality, that are complicated. They aren't simple. You know, if you're tuning into the president's, committee's updates, or Cuomo's updates, or maybe the updates in your own state, you're seeing that getting unpacked. Like, yeah, the economic impact of this stuff is really complicated. The medical side of this is complicated. Where those two meet creates its own own complications. And that is the reality of it, right? It's messy, and it's going to be messy for a while. And what Susan's telling us in the book is, don't run from that, okay? Don't run from the fact that it might be curly. So having the ability, having the courage to interrogate reality, here's why I think it requires courage for each of us. Very few people's default setting is to be kind of in the middle, antiseptic, interrogate reality. We either tend to fall on the side of overly skeptical, or on the side of overly optimistic, and both of those act as hazy filters to interrogating reality. Does that make sense? So we've got to challenge ourselves every time we go to interrogate reality to set a part of that aside, which is very natural for us to be in, and get into this uncomfortable space where we're really looking at the facts, or we're really actively looking for other people's opinions other than just our own. Now, here's some things that hopefully will buoy your spirits in this. Most people want to hear the truth, even if it's unpalatable. Most people want to hear the truth, even if it's unpalatable. And Harry, I did see your chat pop up, so just read it real quick again. Master the courage to interrogate reality. That is our principle number 1 here. Most people want the truth. You know, if you've taken career visioning, our hiring process here at KW, at the very end of it, we have this expectation dialogue, And one of the things we do in the expectation dialogue is to ask the question, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, how direct would you like me to be with you? I have never had anyone say anything less than a 10. Now, what's really smart about that process is that we also immediately go into, okay, but what does a 10 mean to you, Diane? What does a 10 mean to you, Michael Spur? Right? What does a 10 mean to you, Harry? Now, those definitions may have varying degrees to them, but what it's saying is that as we look at ourselves in the mirror and we're honest, we actually do say, I wanted it a 10. Does that make sense? Okay, again, finding the courage to interrogate reality. There is something in us that responds deeply to people who level with us. And I really want to hang out on that for a minute, because that speaks to our ability to attract other people to us. Okay? It speaks to our ability to attract others. Now, who are you trying to attract right now? Let's keep it business, okay? Let's keep it business. Who are you trying to attract right now?
The motivated buyers and sellers.
Motivated buyers and sellers. So what Susan's telling us in this book is motivated buyers and sellers are going to actually be drawn to people who level with them, who tell them the truth. Now, in isolated cases, what might we find that not to be the case? Are there agents out there who from time to time are able to buy a listing? What do I mean when I say buy a listing? What did they do?
The seller outscripted them on their pricing.
Or discounted.
Right. Or the agent actively said, yeah, let's try it for more than what I know we can get it for, just to get you to sign with me, right? Maybe they've also cut their commission to do the same. So they upped the amount in the seller's head that the seller thinks they can get, and they lowered the cost of it, and that delta creates a yield in the seller's head of a win, right? How often does that work out well? Nope, right? That's not a way to win long-term repeat clients, right? I might lose the occasional, but I'm going to win in the long run if I tell people the truth, if I level with them, if I'm direct with them. People actually want that. So let me ask you this question. I'd love to have a few people come off of mute. How often do you find yourself, just to be polite, saying things you don't mean? How often do you find yourself saying things you don't mean?
Occasionally.
Occasionally. I love it. I love it. There's some good honesty there. Occasionally, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Who else?
As I get older, a whole lot less.
Yeah, a lot of us kind of, you know, the older we get, and maybe it might be a New England thing, a little more so than maybe other parts of the country. But I kind of stopped giving a shit about what other people think of me, right?
Also, I decide, does it matter? If they don't need to know my truth, I don't really care to tell them. So I don't
Yeah.
their face about it.
Yeah.
It depends on how significant it is, building on that last point. You know, if it's a minor thing, it's like, yeah, whatever. If it's really important, then I will say what I think.
Right. I'm going to
older
plant
I
my
get-
flag.
And the older I get, the less I care.
Yeah, but most of the time, it's not like you want them to like you. Sometimes it depends on the people's personality. If you say something in a soft way,
Mhm.
and then bring them to reality. It's better than I learned it. Like, I'm very direct person, and it was hurtful in my business at some point. And then my husband told me, why do you think the people need to hear what you think all the time? Maybe you should bring something. Yeah. And I thought, like, that's right. And I thought, like, they should see it because I'm right. And then he told, yeah, maybe even if you're right, but if you antagonize the people, they don't want to hear you right. So I learned to be more soft in approach, but then bring the truth anyway.
Yes.
Pick your battles.
And I agree with that. In the
Pick your
sense,
battles.
if I
Michael?
may, if there's an opportunity to persuade someone or a teaching moment to say, okay, I understand your view, however, I'm seeing it this way. It's not saying, I don't care what you think, and your opinion doesn't matter to me. It's how can I benefit and have the client benefit at the same time?
I will also say, look at the areas where you do that, where you hold back and you say something perhaps that you don't really mean, or you omit, right? You omit. I would argue that most likely in that relationship, we're lacking trust. We're lacking trust, So as I sit here and I look at Michael, and Michael and I have gotten to know each other, there's not much that Michael can say to me that's going to, alter in a negative way the quality of our relationship, because I know if he's sharing with me, it's coming from a place of caring, right? It's coming because he really thinks it's important that I know, and same the other way, correct, Michael?
You got it.
Right.
However, as we're talking about this, and I'm thinking about different conversations I've had, I deal with a lot of investors that you can lead them to the trough, but they are not going to drink. And if I'm having a tough time getting them even to the trough, then I'm going to smile and nod, because it's like, okay, if they can't see the forest through the trees and I'm getting nowhere, then I'm going to smile and nod.
So I'm gonna give you a couple of techniques that maybe we can all benefit from with that, and then we'll keep moving.
Sure.
One of the best things I ever got from Diana Kokoska was, you could lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink.
Yep.
But what we can do is we can shove salt down their throat and make them thirsty. Okay?
I like that.
I like that too. And the way we shove salt down anybody's throat is asking great questions.
Yep.
That force them to interrogate how they're currently thinking. Okay? So just keep that piece in mind, that if you've got somebody who's stuck, stop trying to lead them so much, and ask. Make them go internal, right? And because that becomes the salt. That becomes the salt to potentially make them thirsty. That make sense?
Absolutely.
Love it. So here's another thing that I think is an important question to keep on the top of our mind as we talk about the courage to interrogate reality. What might you currently be pretending not to know? What are you currently pretending not to know?
What happened with the prices?
Say that again.
What happened with prices?
What happened with prices or crisis?
No, home prices.
Right, home pricing, right? Home pricing. In some of the markets, we're still seeing very strong seller market in terms of pricing. And in some of them, we're already seeing major adjustments, especially perhaps in the higher end, right? if we're seeing adjustments in the higher end, where's that going to show up down the road?
The lower price.
In the lower prices, right? So how that can look is, hey, you know, man, the luxury end really dried up, but that doesn't affect me. Well, wait a minute. It's coming. So I'm pretending not to know that that wave that already knocked over luxury is going to be a continued wave that knocks down in some fashion other parts of the same market, right? And I don't want to get stuck in that pretending not to know. So as we lean into the courage to interrogate reality, we've got to be able to ask ourselves that question. What am I pretending not to know here? A couple other things just to contemplate here. Fierce conversations, and again, I think this is a great parallel with career visioning if you've taken it. Fierce conversations take time, and everything else takes longer. Fierce conversations take time, and everything else takes longer. Think of the gradually then suddenly conversation we had from a few days ago, right? If I don't engage in a fierce conversation during the gradually, especially on the negative, the suddenly is going to be way more detrimental, way more detrimentally impactful, and going to take a lot more time to dig out of, whether it be bankruptcy or verge of divorce or whatever thing that might be, right? So we've got to understand that, yes, for a lot of you, I know a bunch of you, and I look at a lot of high D personality types, you guys don't like to slow down for nothing. And these conversations take some slowing down, being present, really engaging.
And I also wanted to say, I think the following day, the slowly to gradually and suddenly, and then there is to really address the elephant in the room.
Right. That's that. What am I pretending not to know? Another way to think about that is the Mokita. What is it that everybody knows and nobody talks about? Right.
Yes.
You know, the emperor has no pants on, kind of a thing, right? This to me is one that's so meaty, it really, I think, warrants some unpacking. Nothing is more dangerous than an idea when it's the only one you have. Nothing is more dangerous than an idea when it's the only one you have. Think of that in terms of, I find this to be a little simpler for myself. Think of that in terms of candidates when you go to hire somebody, right? Imagine if you have a really important role to fill and you only have one candidate. Think of all the hopes and dreams and aspirations you start hanging on that candidate because you're so desperate to hire, right? They could be giving you every reason not to hire them, and you're actively overlooking it because it's the only candidate you have. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, painfully so, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what if that's an idea, especially a really important idea in your business? What if you only have one idea about how to potentially weather the storm that's coming, as opposed to multiple, as opposed to getting other people's perspective? Now, we're not going to have time to dive into this in our series that we're doing, but there's a section in the book where we talk about the beach ball conversation, And just to touch on it really quick, it's really ties to this principle. And so the beach ball conversation, you know, what's the predominant color that you guys see right here?
Red.
Red. Thank you, Charlotte, who's wearing a red shirt, right? So Charlotte's dressed in red and she sees red. Think about that as the person in the accounting department, right? Every time Harry goes to spend $1 on the sales side, accounting's going, man, that's another expense, right? Because all they see is red. But Harry's looking at it but man, that's where our money comes from, right? So he's got this green perspective. He wears green, he lives green, he breathes green. Every time we ask Harry for an opinion, it's coming from green. And then look at all of the other perspectives that we could be gaining if we took that one idea that we have and brought it to a group. What if you took your business plan for the next 90 days and brought 4 or 5 partners together, maybe another seasoned agent in your office, maybe your lender, maybe a past client, and said, hey, here's what I think I want to do with my business for the next 90 days. Here's why I think it's the direction we should go in, and I want your perspective. I want you to tell me all the crap that I'm not thinking about because I'm standing on green and I can't see blue from where I am. Is this making sense? So this is what we're talking about in terms of the courage to interrogate reality. Do you have the fortitude to take your ideas, your plans, and put them on the table and allow a group like that to tear it up? So that you have to walk out of that room and perhaps start over, or perhaps head in a completely different direction. Does that require some courage? Yes or yes?
Just the very thought of it making me sick.
Well, it's all part of the weight loss program. So yeah, I start that seminar at 12:01. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's going to hit you at a gut level. For some of you, it's going to hit you at a gut level. We did this as our office went to switch to the Command's opportunities, right? Because Jen, if you've got a second to hop off mute, we kind of had some options, some of the market centers, to extend some of the systems we were working with at an expense to the market center, or we could jump, just rip off the Band-Aid and jump in to, using opportunities completely as they were, all that kind of stuff, right? And how did that work out for your offices, Jen? What did you guys end up doing?
What specifically are you talking about? And make sure that I
Back in the fall when we had that, when Command Opportunities became live and our contracts with some of our other like DocuSigns or whatever
Gotcha.
started fading away, like we had an opportunity to extend some of those, which was going to be expensive, or we had some opportunity to just rip Band-Aids off. How did you guys handle that?
So in Rhode Island, we had a little bit of a different experience. We had to work with our board of realtors to get documents. So no, we had to extend. We didn't have a choice, but we're doing working arounds. Yeah.
Yep. And in Maine, ours was, we had the option. And we initially were going to say, nope, let's rip the Band-Aid off. And then as we got closer and closer to it, realized that there was some functionality issues. And so we pulled the group together. And believe me, Brad, the genius that I am, I had a plan. I knew what direction I wanted to go in. And because of fears, I physically brought a beach ball into the conversation, threw it on the center of the table, and said, here's my plan. Here's why I'm thinking about going in that direction. Now, please, staff, give me your perspective. And I promise you, my plan did not happen because of the perspective the staff gave me. And it was really valuable. Here's the other interesting thing. The plan that we walked out of there with, we weren't able to execute on because of a number of variety pieces. And it actually ended up having to be a whole nother beach ball conversation and a whole nother plan, which ultimately we ended up going with. And sure, were there some bumps? Yep. But we knew as a team, it was the best direction we could go in. And then we could move as a team instead of Brad going, hey, we're going this way, follow me. And maybe 2 of the staff going, yeah. And then 3 of the staff going, I don't know. And then 4 of the staff going, screw you. That doesn't work too good. when you've got the opportunity to gain everyone's perspective, even if we don't go in yellow's direction, when yellow's been heard, really heard, right? Get this, really heard, they're more likely to go with you even when it's not in the direction they were saying. Does that make sense? Here's a leadership piece that I want to kind of leave us with this and have some time for a couple of questions. The person who can most accurately describe reality without laying blame will emerge as the leader. The person who can most accurately describe reality without laying blame will emerge as the leader. I would argue we've got a little bit of a moment like that with, and I'm terrible with names, but what's his name? Fauci, right? Am I talking about the right person, right? I'm not seeing him laying blame at anybody's doorstep, and he's describing reality, right? And
that's the reason he's still there.
And that's the reason he's still there, yeah. And the reality he's describing is curly, not straight. It's complicated. It's a lot of yes and yes and yes and yes, right? Not an easy position for a leader to be in. However, if you can describe reality, really verbalize the picture of it, and do it without laying any blame at somebody else's feet, you will emerge as a leader. A couple of things to think about in that. Because when I originally read that quote years ago, life is curly, don't try to straighten it. It was kind of an affront to me because I always view one of my skills is helping to simplify stuff, right? Take a complicated idea. If any of you guys have been in my Meet a Week class, which is really about how do I grow a real estate team, right? It's like, take all of this information and let's just boil it down to like, what are the simple steps I need to take to successfully build a real estate team, right? Well, understand as a leader, the simplifying that you've done is actually to verbalize what reality looks like. And that actually can take a lot of work. That can take a lot of understanding process. You haven't gotten rid of the curliness of reality, but you've helped others to understand it quicker, easier, in a more digestible way. And that's a great gift. That's a great gift that you can help your clients with. So we've only got about 60 seconds, but I'd love to hear either some ahas or some couple of quick questions. Lay them on me.
I like the idea what you say about take the horse to the water and then to help them and put some thoughts in, put some salt in the throat.
Yeah, shove some salt down their throat, right?
Yep.
I love it. Give me another one.
My husband is wrong. Everybody wants to hear my opinion.
Everybody wants to hear my opinion.
I find that this is a lot like raising children in terms of creativity and being creative in how you express yourself. If you ask your kids to do something, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say no. But if you can rally them to do something by making it seem like the most interesting option, everyone wins. And it's the same with real estate clients, that if you flat out tell them that they should be doing something that they're not doing or that they're not inclined to do, they're going to push back. But if you can come up with a creative way to help them see that it's in everyone's best interest, they will follow you.
Yes. I love that. And it is, it's the, how do we make the painting of the fence exciting, right? My son and I yesterday for Earth Day, he's got his gym time. He's only 6, so you know, the gym time from school is I got to spend 30 minutes outside, but we were also trying to find, you know, what can we do as like an Earth Day thing. So we just did a 30, 40-minute walk with the trash bag. And sure enough, we filled the trash bag, you know, and he was really excited about picking up trash for 10 minutes, you know, and then dad was doing most of it. But it was great. It was great. So yeah, I mean, just, yeah, that perspective piece, love it. One more quick before we hop on.
I love.
Go ahead.
Shirley?
I loved your beach ball analogy, because so many times we look at what we're doing and we're like, why don't you see the importance of this? And you just can't get someone to see it from your point of view, but you're also not seeing it from theirs because you need to shift your, you know, how you're looking at things. And that's so, like, putting it in to perspective with the beach ball was like an aha for me. Like,
yeah, one of the growth opportunities I had to go through as a leader was understanding that my approach often was, I'm going to make you feel like you have an opportunity to share your opinion, but we're still going to do it my way. And I'm going to make you feel like you're excited about that, as opposed to, shut up, Brad. Let other people talk, right? And really allow that conversation to happen. Really allow that to happen. And that's taken a long time. That was very convicting for me to go, oh, shoot, I'm the guy that walks into the meeting and makes you think you're going to have a say, even though you ain't going to have a say, right? Lee, did you have something?
Yes, mine was the beach ball too, just the colors. I mean, that's, and the way that you related red to accounting and green to sales. I mean, my 24-year-old is living here with us because she's from New York City, and she gets off of her Zoom calls or her work call, and she's a software engineer, and she's like, oh, sales, they just want to do it their way. You know, like, it's real life experience. It's the yin and the yang, and people just have to put that beach ball on the table and go for it.
Right. Yeah. It's accounting's perspective and sales's perspective. And how do we make the best decision for the organization, set our egos at the door, right? It's not about winning. It's not about having it be my way. It's about what's the best thing for the organization. And, you know, when I say organization, think your family unit, think your real estate team, think your town, right? Your clients. Yeah. Michael, you had something that we're gonna wrap it up.
In my market, you know, there's a real difference in you know, that super high end thing. And it was an aha for me, because it wasn't an hour ago, small discussion about, yeah, higher end stuff's going to take a hit. That will affect everything else.
Yes. Yes, it will.
And again, prepare.
Yep. Well, Harry, thanks for bringing your daughter onto the call. That's better than looking at my ugly mug, right?
Absolutely. She's
awesome.
She's training for this. This is the succession plan right here.
Perfect. Gang, we got to wrap it up because we're over. If you've got questions, drop me an email, drop me a text, or bring them to the call to start us off tomorrow, and we'll go from there. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.